had to start over. I don't know what the fuck was on. Anyway, but I had to start over, but it's cool. Thank you for tuning in. Uh, Start off right now, God, of course. Thank you, spirit guides. Thank you, ancestors, for allowing this to happen. Universe, of course. You know the real shit. Acknowledging the real, so I can get it real. And thank you for tuning in. What I'm talking about today is the release of genetic traumas and generational traumas. Tired of struggling and sick and tired of being sick and tired. My nigga, like, and that's not just from an economic standpoint. It's emotional, mental, physical, and spiritually tired, and that stems from unacknowledged traumas and unacknowledged emotions that have become repressed and ignored, and that have not been released. Hence the title and what we'll be dealing with. An antidote to this is soul searching, rather more accurately, soul remembrance. This is diving into ourselves, our lives, and feeling the situations and filling out the instances of trauma and sitting with those situations and giving love and understanding to ourselves of that time. Whatever that has transpired within your life is really delving deep within oneself and feeling what has happened, no matter how hard it may be, because it was hard to live through. And what I just saw was a post on Twitter. It was said, being aware and cognizant that you've survived 100% of your worst days, the days that you thought that would destroy you. You've survived them, so you're here. So, yes, although they were very hard and difficult to experience, to properly release that, and therefore it doesn't reoccur over and over and over again, and also uh, develop into a psychological defense mechanism and a fear-based belief to avoid. You have to release it because the brain will do all that it can to prevent that trauma from happening again subconsciously. So you will develop certain mechanisms and characteristics within how one expresses themselves and how one reacts in a certain situation to prevent that trauma from happening again. To alleviate that, we have to properly deal with it. We have to identify it, we have to feel it to heal from it, regardless of what that is and what that may be within one's individual life. That's how we counteract the genetic and generational traumas in which we've all experienced. I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna keep saying it because this shit is so profound. We have yet to be debriefed from slavery. Not only slavery, which is discrimination, prejudice, and racism, and genocide. The fuck? The actual legislative discriminative actions that have been brought against our people in our community. Jim Crow, segregation, the fight for equal rights, and the trauma that we had, and the psychological of impact of going through that environment and going through those traumas that is had genetically. We are made up of 37.2 trillion cells that are all interacting and intercommunicating, are all interacting and communicating with each other, passing on information of what one experiences. That is all of what we experience, and it is taking on that stimuli and reacting to the information in which we experience. So we pass that down genetically to our children, to our children's children. It it never stops. That is the flow of life. It keeps going as we experience continuousness of consciousness. You know, so to heal properly from all of the grotesque things and just I said it already as far as genocide. I'm just trying to think of another word. It's ineffable, really, to compact all of the struggle that we've gone through. And struggle is an understatement. You feel me? I'm wearing it right. Struggle. Come on, my nigga. Struggle is that's an understatement. Nigga, like, you may have forgot about him. His family didn't forget about him. He multiplied his situation times 1,000, times 100,000, times, like, what the fuck, really? Think about the stories that we don't hear, and that's police brutality. He's an example of police brutality, and not even that, because it was Zimmerman actually. He's an example of white supremacy, and white supremacy is equivalent to police brutality, and that is one of the small components of the degradation in which we've had to face. So getting back to soul searching and soul remembrance and diving into ourselves, we have to give, we have to sit with these instances, and it's not just white supremacy in which we suffer from directly, indirectly because of white supremacy. You feel me? Right, that is the root, but indirectly because of white supremacy, we deal with our own inner family and personal uh, traumatic events and traumas. So speaking on that, we have to sit with those traumas, give love to it, understand ourselves, understand ourselves at that time, acknowledging the lesson learned from that experience, and then getting to a reason of why the event occurred, discerning between what is and what is not in one's control, you know. And that's the maturity of doing this. Is if you were transgressed upon in any way, shape, or form, that's not your fault. Somebody else's somebody else's decision to act on to transgress on you, it has nothing to do with you. To energetically and create a a soul entanglement and a energetic entanglement that's going to affect one's spirit further than just this lifetime. You know, something like sexual abuse, which is, we know what that is, but that has nothing to do with you. You didn't do anything. That's outside of your control, especially of it occurring, especially but not limited to, but especially of that occurring to an individual, a child. You know, it got nothing to do with you. But it's having that discernment of what one is accountable and responsible for. Sitting with that. Why did I do that? What was I going through? What were the factors? What influenced me? Well, understanding, going into the deeper reason of what happened and what transpired and why. To have that, to have a fundamental, to have that understanding, then one can release and heal. Another important factor in releasing these traumas is stretching. It's a lot of the thing. It's the reason why these psychological mechanisms called or psychological, yes, different psychological mechanisms are called complexes, like a small man complex, Napoleon complex, nigga, because the shit is complicated. It's complicated to rationalize. A lot of antidotes, a lot of solutions, and effective solutions are simple. If it's like, if it doesn't come easy, don't. Why would you force? Nothing good comes from forcing anything, my nigga. Like, just let that shit, let it go. Um, but stretching, which relieves tension that restricts energy. We are energetic beings. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred. And we are literally energetic beings. That's what allows us to animate and move these vessels we call bodies. Therefore, if there is pent up energy that creates tension, it cannot flow easily. Having that will disrupt anyone's homeostasis and equilibrium. And that's what we have to maintain to be our best selves. Um, Releasing this tension, the tension that restricts energy and blocks our natural flow. Stretching also allows us to connect with the body on a deeper level, furthering our alignment, which in turn breeds clarity with spirituality and, of course, mentally. Uh, so that's another tactic. I just have my notes right here to keep a nigga on point. But those are two ways. And speaking on the traumatic events, these are events that are blocking us from our true self and expressing oneself unapologetically and truthfully and authentically. This is very true because there should be no shame in your game. There should be nothing holding you back or resisting anything resisting you from being all that what you are when expressing oneself. We are here to express ourselves. Anything that is not truth of expression is suppression, and that leads to depression. You feel me? It don't rhyme just because it's cute. But like it's all connected. So these events that are blocking us from our true self, which aids in the ego, which is perpetuated by this capitalistic, consumeristic society. You know, it aids in that uh, integration and rigidness of how strongly one attaches to the ego and who we think we are, who you think you are, or who I think I am, and there really is no I. It's just connectedness. It's only one. There is no I. This is all. We're all living. We are different, and we respect that difference, but also acknowledging the truth of what we are, and we are living sentient beings. There is no difference other than the differences. It's not hard. There are no difference outside of the differences. We are all life itself, animated to live in our purpose, relinquishing the different conditionings and indoctrinations we've received of what we think that purpose is. We can't just exclude the veil that's been put over us and subsequently influence the medium in which we live our lives, regardless of what career field or what job or what hobby, whatever the fuck, that we attribute and subscribe to psychologically, is deeper than that, because without life itself, we cannot enact any of those things. So life is the basis and common through line that connects us all, every life form. So relinquishing that ego, the ego that that traumatic events, the ego that traumatic events definitely aid in its growth and creating defense mechanisms, as I mentioned earlier, that are fear based. Fear is a building block of mental illness and instability. Acknowledging that us as melanated beings are simply life force energy emanating through time and space will destroy the constructs that divide us, knowing that we are extensions of oneself. We have to acknowledge the fact that we are deeper than language itself. We are energy itself, energetic beings residing inside these physical vessels that are carriers. We have our own energetic fields that communicate with the electromagnetic spectrum on Earth's interconnecting us all. Dialect, regardless of its respective language, is nothing more than audible symbols signifying specified meanings, encapsulating the mind within the confines of the linguistic energetic marker. This is because it takes us to acknowledge, which is to give intention, which is the energy to the word mentally, and to mentally register the word into cognition, neurologically accepting its meaning. This is why, yes, this is why there is a connotative and denotative difference in comparison of dialect, excuse me, wow, and comprehension. This is why there is a connotative and denotative difference in comprehension of dialect. Connotative isn't necessarily the dictionary definition of a word. You know, connotative carries the energetic propensity of its contextualized usage because the energy of the word is transferred. I mean, back to that energy word again. It cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred. Just like how a parent will say to a child, that because of an action committed, the child must accept the consequences of those actions. Now, the connotative implications of this statement typically leads us to believe that the outcome of the action committed will be negative, hence the energetic signature it is usually used in, but the denotative definition is simply the effect of a result of something. If I slap the shit out of myself, the consequences of that action will be most likely I'll be in pain. Now, that's just that's the consequence. Now, that doesn't really help as far as the connotation of it being negative. But all right, so if one works extremely hard, and if I do squats every day, the consequence of doing those squats every day, leg press, calf raises, and really working on my lower body, the consequences of those actions is I'm gonna be able to dunk, I'm gonna be able to jump higher. That is the consequence of those actions. To give you a better example, an analogy. But seriously though, that's just the denotative definition. It is a result. It is simply a result. Yes. We are deeper than the words we use, as the words only serve us as a conduit to convey internal energetic feeling, likely a reaction to stimuli or some sort, but this is all observable from the space of our spirit. It is within this space of observation of our own consciousness, and then beyond even that is where life force energy spirit resides, continuous, forever flowing, and constantly shifting. It is from that place where we can truly release and transmute traumatic experiences, and vibrationally, of course, and spiritually ascend. And that's where we are, acknowledging the fact that we are not titles. And like I said before, we are deeper than language itself, and that is external or internal. The the voice in our head that only we can hear. You know, it's like you can't really. It's backwards, but you know who that face is. You know, if I say Trayvon Martin, and I'm like, okay, also in 3 seconds, tell me in your head. Don't say anything out loud, but in 3 seconds when I count down, tell me who this is. You feel me? Three, two, one. But you heard it though. No, nothing was said, but you heard that, and it's even deeper than that. The observation of that voice in itself internally, you know, and getting into life force energy that allows everything to be what it is, allows every sense to be experienced, and allows life to be life. Staying with that while also observing the traumatic events that have transpired will allow you to see it in a different perspective and allow you to transmute that energy that may be negative and ultimately release it to be your best self, and to speak unapologetically who you are and be who you are. And that's it, you feel me? That's all. Because we are perfectly imperfect. Like, it's nothing for us to, this is not a performance. It's nothing that we have to be, nothing we have to act. Fuck all that. Be exactly who you are. No holds barred. Like, fuck them all. Everything that serves as an influence to edit yourself, ain't no need to edit anything. Be exactly who you are. But thank you for tuning in. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. And fuck them. You feel me? Like, fuck anybody, anyone, or any influence that has negated you from expressing yourself truly and authentically. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. God loves you. Have a good one.